Hello and welcome, or welcome back if you are coming off of part 1 of my speed reviews. This includes all of the stuff that I tested for July and August because I wasn't here at the end of July, beginning of August to film this video. So it's a roundup of 60 items and I did a pretty good job in diversifying what I was testing. I've got some new releases, I've got some really affordable stuff from a haul that I did from AOA Studio, and I was picking up more blush and bronzer items from indie brands to test them out, so that I was testing more than just eyeshadows, which is indie brands are infamous for really good eyeshadow formulas, but I wanted to test some of the other formulas. So I have some of those to talk about in today's video. This is part 2, so it does consist of my blush, my highlighter, and all of the lip products that I tested for July and August. So I think we still have half of the products of the 60 that I tested still to go. If you guys are interested and haven't already seen it, part 1 is up. It includes everything all the way from like eye products to base products, bronzer, setting sprays, powders, all that good stuff. So if you guys are interested in checking that up, that'll already be up on my channel. I do show you guys cutaways of me applying every single thing so you guys get a better idea of what it looks like. I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Let's hop into it. All right, there are 20 different blush here. 20 whole different blush that I tested for July and August, which is, it's insane. Anyway, let's get into it. The first one that I have was a fairly new release. It was from Unearthly Cosmetics, an indie brand. It's the Spring Magic Iridescent Blush Palette. I have tested the Unearthly Cosmetics blush formula before, so when this collection came out and I picked up the eyeshadow, I also decided to get the blush palette because I knew that I had enjoyed their formula before. Even though these look super intense and super pigmented, they're just not. They are so much more hard pressed in the pan that even picking it up on a more dense brush, you're getting a more diffused look on the cheeks. A lot of these come out a lot lighter. So if you're looking for something pretty intense and pigmented, I think you'd have to like go in pretty hard. Otherwise, you're not going to get that with this palette. It is iridescent, meaning that for me, it's just a very shimmery blush on the cheeks. So if you guys don't like a shimmery blush, this definitely wouldn't be the palette for you. All of her blushes I have come to find are like this. Like none that I have tested so far aren't shimmery and iridescent like this. So this is kind of like the standard formula, I think, from Unearthly Cosmetics. The shade range is awesome. It goes for all around different skin tones, which is really cool. I think this product or this palette would last a long time. It's really sturdy packaging. I think the price point was too high though. I think Unearthly Cosmetics is kind of getting to the point where I feel like we're paying a lot in packaging and the cost is exponentially rising. So anyway, it does come with a mirror on the inside, so you know you could just use this to apply a lot of your makeup and that's all nice, but I would have taken it without the mirror, quite honestly. But as far as the formula goes, I like it. I think that even though it's shimmery, it's still very smooth on the cheeks, and you guys will see that in the cutaway. It's very airbrush looking, so I enjoyed this formula from Unearthly. Let's keep going with the indie brands for the blush, because I got a bunch actually. From MBA Cosmetics, I got a loose powder blush. This one is in the shade Doll Face. I didn't think I was gonna like this because it's such a light color, but there's just something so beautiful about a loose powder blush on the cheeks that really just like pushes the product into the skin and makes it look super airbrushing. What I use with this, I use a really dense brush and I like stamp it into the cheeks, as opposed to like the Unearthly Cosmetics where I use kind of a fluffier brush to apply it so that it's less pigmented, more diffused. But this, I feel like it would benefit you to use a more dense brush and just press it into the cheeks. And it's just gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. I'll probably even take this little stopper out just so that I can get to more of the product quicker. But I didn't think I was gonna like it. The first time I tried it, I was like, oh, this is mild. And then the more I use it, I realized this is so airbrush looking. It's a really small package though. I mean, I wish it was a little bit bigger of a container to make it easier to get the brush into, but this is definitely a blush that surprised me, that I liked more than I thought I would. More indie brand blush. I picked up some Colored Rain blushes and I don't know if these are still available. If they are, you guys, I'll link them in the description box. But I picked up 2 different types of blush and then 1 highlighter that I use as a blush, because it's a deep shade. This one is called the Copper Rose Cream Blush, and I believe this one only comes in 2 shades. This is kind of your quintessential cream blush, where it's a little bit of a thinner, like emollient formula. It's not densely pigmented, and it's a radiant finish. I like it for all of those reasons because it's just not sticky, because I actually enjoy every single different type of blush formula. I like a shimmery, I like a matte, I like everything. I don't discriminate as it pertains to the finish very often. It's usually just a formula thing for me. And I know some people just have like a preference of whether it's a powder blush or something that's more mattifying, something that isn't radiant, but I like them all. So for me, I'm not as harsh of a critic as it pertains to the finish, more so as it pertains to the formula. And I think the formula is fabulous. Again, not too pigmented. It's not sticky, even though it's nice and emollient and gives that radiant finish, and it blends out perfectly. That's really the biggest thing. It's like, how well does it blend? Is it too intense? That sort of thing. So moving on to the next one that is super different. This is the cream blush in Floral. This one is a completely different formula. This one's like a whipped moussey texture. It's very thick. It's very intensely pigmented. It's very packed, dense pigment. It's very hard to get this to be very light on the cheeks. It's also this hot ass pink color too, so it's very bright anyway. I think it's pretty, but I'm gonna pass this along because it's just too intense. It's just too bright. Not a bad formula. If it was a different shade, it would be better, but it's very different than the other one. It's like almost kind of a soft matte finish because it's this really thick whipped texture. It's not bad. I mean, if you guys wanted to check this out and you liked this shade, it's kind of the soft matte, kind of diffused finish, I think this blush was $2. So there you go. But probably something I'm going to pass along because it's just too bright. All right, the final one from Colored Rain, again, I think this was like $2. It's the Focal Point Glow Lighter in Just Peachy. It is a pressed highlighter, but I use it as a blush because it's very deep. It's a very dark peachy shade, but this has a lot of shimmer to it. Very sheeny product. So it is a highlighter that I use as a blush, so take that for what you will. It does add texture to the face because it's kind of a thicker highlighter formula, but also it has like the gold on top of it, which sometimes I feel like picks up the texture because it's peach base, but a gold overlay or overspray, kind of like the top coat is gold. But if you've ever heard me talk about how I love that gold on top of like the base pigment, then you know this is right up my alley. It's such a bright shade though. It's super intense again on the cheeks. So I don't know if it's something I'm going to be reaching for all the time. It's a nice powdered formula. It's very, very creamy, but it's almost a little bit gritty, a little bit chunky. So I don't know, maybe not something that I will keep in my collection. I'll have to test it out a couple more times to decide whether or not it's like too intense to wear out, but it's a decent formula. It's just not as smooth as it could be, I guess. Like it definitely emphasizes some texture. My favorite would be this one from Colored Rain. The next ones that I have up, I have 4 different shades, and I did talk about these in my Best of Beauty for 2024. These were the Buttermelt blushes from NYX. I picked up 3 that were in the shimmering formula, and then the one that was in the matte formula, Soft Mauve. It didn't have any shimmer to it. I am swatching all of these in the video so that you guys can see, but I'm putting on 2 different shades. I'm putting one on that's shimmery, and then I'm putting the other one on in Soft Mauve that isn't. And I'm putting on Shimmery Rose on the other side. I really think that Drugstore was coming for high end with these. The thing is, some of them are intense. They're really, really pigmented. And so I think the shades really matter because I got 4 of them out of the, I want to say it was like 8 shades that launched. And I can tell that even though some of these shades are shades that I can wear in other formulas, that the tangerine shade, for example, is just too bright on me because these are so densely pigmented. And even in this cutaway, I'm taking the fluffiest brush and like sweeping it onto the cheeks, and it's still pretty intense. This does have talc in it. I've heard some of you say like, I wish these didn't have talc. Yeah, I agree, but I also think it makes them last a little bit longer. They're a pretty long lasting formula, but they're so smooth and they're so creamy and they're so airbrush looking. Again, I really just think that if you're gonna go for a shade like this and have fair skin like me, you're gonna really need to go in with a super fluffy brush or stick to the ones that are just maybe a little less vibrant, but they are such a good formula. I like the packaging too. I like that there's no mirror in here. Like $10, I'm all for it. I really think that these are some of my favorite drugstore blushes in my whole collection. I actually have 2 more here that I put in my Best of Beauty for 2024 so far. So I have already talked about these on my channel, but I've got to talk about them some more. The Kaja Dewy Bar. I love this, you guys. It's the Fig Smoothie Dewy Bar. Actually, it's the Dewy Bar in Fig Smoothie, sorry. It smells like little summer. The way that Kaja formulates their products is that, like, even though this is a product that is super radiant and super pigmented, the way that it blends out is fabulous. It's a well-performing cream stick formula. It doesn't stick in one place. It doesn't get too pigmented that you can't blend it out. It's a very workable formula. Even though it's very, very dewy, I personally like that. And I find that I can make this less dewy depending upon the brush that I use by like picking up less product and really stamping it into the skin. The lighter hand that I go with this, the more dewy it gets. The harder hand that I go with less product, the less dewy that this gets, but it lasts all day. It's really just about the blendability. They make this a really nicely blendable formula. So I really enjoyed this. If you're somebody who likes a dewy blush, a radiant blush that isn't sticky, your hair doesn't stick to it, this is a good one. This is a good one. Another one that was in my best of beauty for 2024 was the IT Cosmetics Glow with Confidence Sun Blush. These were marketed to be a hybrid blush product and bronzer product. It says right here actually, blush plus bronzer in 95% solid serum. I have mine in the shade Sunlit 10. This is a very whipped moussey texture, and you can get a lot of product pick up on a brush. Like if it's dense and you just stick it in there, you're gonna get a ton of product. So I like to take like just a teeny bit, be very careful, and then tap it off onto the back of my hand. I don't think this is necessarily a product that I would use as both a blush and bronzer, but I kind of get the warmth of the shade and its undertone as being like a product I understand they were going with there, but it's definitely just a blush for me. Again, it's the blendability here. It's another really radiant product that has good lasting power, that isn't sticky, but it's blendable. Extremely blendable. Such an easy formula to work with if you like that kind of finish. The next one that I have, I put in the blush category, but it's got a blush and a highlighter. It's from Iconic London. It's the Silk Glow Duo in Rose Gold. I think I've had my eye on this from the Sephora website for so long, and I love so many Iconic London products. I don't know why, just something about like the pictures of this baked formula just really intrigued me. So when I was in store, I picked it up. I like it. It's good. It's actually a lot more mild than I thought it was going to be for Iconic London. Sometimes they tend to do some like pretty shimmery things, like especially in some of their highlighting formulas, like their liquid highlighter, for example. So I've actually grown to really enjoy Iconic London, but I think this was okay. Like, I think that's just how I feel about it at this particular point. I have a lot of formulas in my collection. This didn't stand out to me. I think that it was very airbrushing and there's no sparkles in it, and it's like more on the natural side kind of. And because it's a baked formula, it's a little bit hard pressed. You're not going to get like kick up or anything like that. So it's not like too pigmented. Say for example, like the NYX, which are like a lot lighter pressed. But yeah, I think it's kind of makeup graveyard. I liked it. There's nothing wrong with it. It just is not a standout product. Not as much as like my heart thought it was going to be seeing the pictures online at Sephora. So I thought I would share that. It's definitely a decent product, just not a, like it's not the top 10. It's not one that I think about or I will be thinking about reaching for, I think. So it's kind of makeup graveyard for me. Let's talk about one that I've tested the formula. I've talked about in roundup videos or ranking videos of my blush before. It's the Cloud Paint from Glossier in the shade Soar. If you guys are watching this and you're the one that recommended this shade, this one is for you, okay? This one is like a super vibrant pink color, and one of you recommended me try this particular shade because I was such a fan of the Glossier Cloud Paint formula, and you said that even though it looks bright, it was more demure on the face, and it was really nice for fair skin tones. I don't know. It's a little bit bright for me, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that I'll be reaching for this all the time. Like on an everyday basis, this is just too bright for me, because Glossier definitely has a way of putting good pigment in their products. It doesn't lack pigment. The thing with the cloud paints is like it's the lightest radiant finish, super blendable formula that lasts all day. Like I would get more in this. I don't think Soar was my shade. All right, let me talk about a formula I didn't like. I finally have a blush I just didn't enjoy. I mean, aside from the iconic London one, I guess maybe there's a couple more that are just like okay. But the Huda Beauty liquid blush, this one is the blush filter liquid blush in strawberry cream. I find this a really difficult formula to work with. It has like a pointed doe foot, so it doesn't pick up a ton of product. It like deposits it right on the tip of it, which is kind of like weird. I think if you were to like dot this, it makes sense, but this product is like a soft matte finish and it dries really quickly. So dotting it onto my face was just leaving the dot there. I couldn't move it around. So I was like taking it and kind of swiping it and trying to blend it. I find it's very hard to work with because it dries so quickly. This has like a pina colada smell though. It's like very fruity. You know what I like this for? I like this for what I saw Huda come out with, saying what we're using this for now, which is a lip product. I like it as a lip product. It's really like a soft matte lip product that actually lasts, and it doesn't sink into your fine line. It's not too dry of a soft matte formula. Do you guys remember when she came out with the lip blushes last year that were meant for the cheeks and the lips, but they were like a stain? And then she said, you guys, this isn't meant for the lips. But this is so much better for the lips than those icky lip blushes were. Those lip blushes were so bad. They were super sheer on my lips. They were super dry and they were a stain. So anytime I would put them on my cheeks, they would just like lock down where they were. How come this is a better dual product than the lip blushes that were meant to be dual? That's my personal opinion. I don't like this as a blush. I like this as a lip product. But for me, I don't think I would keep it for a lip product. I have other lip products that are as good as this. So guys, weird. I don't know. I have not found a blush formula from Huda that I love, but I haven't tried her like sticks. I should try those. I really should. I don't need to, but I should, because it's probably more up my alley. These last two releases, not my thing. All right, let's do another new release. This is from Haus Labs. Color Fuse Glassy Blush Balm, Blush Cream, and I have Glassy Pomelo. I like it. I love this. It's the one I'm wearing right now. I ended up going back and putting this on. I love it. This reminds me a lot of the Kaja Dewy Bar, that depending upon the brush that I use, I can diffuse out the radiance, the emollients, the leftover glossiness that this has. But it's such a blendable formula. This one is a lighter shade than the Kaja. I just don't think this is as pigmented as the Kaja for sure. Even though it's a lighter shade, I don't think it's as intense, but I just love that I can make this super glossy if I want, or tone down some of the glossiness, and it doesn't get sticky on the cheek. Don't think it lasts as long as the Kaja, but I still think it's an ultra blendable formula. And for me, that's such a big deal. Like, how well is that pigment diffusing onto my cheeks? And I think it's good. I really do. I think that the hate that it's getting, because I do see some people saying like, don't buy it. Like, I don't agree with that. I actually really like that. I think it's a good formulation. All right, next one I have up is from an indie brand. This is the Chic Dewy Blush from Bella Beauté Bar. Have a code with Bella Beauté Bar. It'll be listed in the description box if you guys are interested. This one is in the shade Rose Ritual. This is intense. This is an intensely pigmented liquid blush formula, but I really love this like applicator because you can push out like a customizable amount of product, as opposed to like, you know, those tubes where you gotta kind of push like a lot out. This you can like just kind of swipe. Like I said, it's a really emollient formula. It gives a really intense cheek, I'm not gonna lie, but I do like the way that it diffuses out. It looks very airbrushing, and this formula lasts all day. It's definitely a good formula. It's definitely an intense formula. I wouldn't reach for this if I'm going for like a lighter blush day, if I want something a little bit more natural and airbrushed, but I do love this shade and I do like the formula. More blush. All right, this one's a new release too. It's from Lawless. It's one of her cream blushes. It's the Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush in Rosebud. This one does not stand out to me as like a top cream formula. This reminds me a lot of like the About Face blush balms, where it's pretty emollient, but it kind of dries down to like that soft powdery finish is what it's like. It's kind of a customizable intensity. The pigment is not crazy right off the bat. It's more like a silicone base is what it feels like. So I have other blush in my collection that are very similar. It's not a bad performing product and it's very blendable. And I think that if you're looking for something like that's just more natural and easier to apply, then this is definitely a nice cream blush formula, but it's more like a powdery blush balm is what I think it is. So it's a good formula. It's not standout for me. I think it's kind of, it's definitely one I'll keep, and I don't want to call it makeup graveyard, but it's not my top 20 cream blush formulas. I've got two that are not new releases that I wanted to test, and then one that was a new release. Mine broke when it came from Ulta. It's the Flower Beauty Pyramids Cheek color, and this one is in PC1 Rose Glow. I was on a hunt for the best like shimmery blushes, and like how could I not try this one from Flower Beauty? But I'm so upset that it came smashed. Here it is just breaking more. 90% of the shimmery part is what broke. So this is all by itself like a shimmery formula anyway. So I don't understand why they needed to make part of it like a highlighter and then add two different blush colors like in weird places. That is my only criticism of this. It's not a super not highlighting formula. Like it's gonna emphasize texture if it's there, but I'd say that it's really smooth. It's gorgeous like powder formula. It goes on very nicely. I like that it's like pressed like this, but I don't like the way that it's like displayed. You didn't need to put, I think, the highlighter here and then the light pink here and then the dark. Like they just could have done full on rose, I think, because the way it was laid out was just odd, and I feel like I was kind of like swirling it all together, and I don't know, you know, these are highlighting formulas anyway. Like these are shimmery blushes. You didn't need to add the highlighter in there. It's a little bit weird. I like the overall effect, but I could see myself struggling a little bit during application and like which side do I get? Do I get more blush first and then go in for like a dab of the highlighter, which is in this really odd shape? That's kind of, again, my only criticism. Otherwise, I love me a shimmery blush formula, and I think this is good. I would love to repurchase this in not a broken packet to test it again. And Flower Beauty is fairly affordable, so you know, it's not like I'm replacing like a $49 blush or anything like that, so I feel good about it. But if you guys like a shimmery blush, I think it's worth checking out. They don't make a lot of like super highlighting blushes like that at the drugstore, and for me, I definitely enjoy it. I just thought the layout was a little weird, I guess, with all that prattling on. All right, here's another highlighting blush formula that is kind of drugstore. It's Catkin. It's the Rosy Blush. This one is in C01 Drunk in Blossom. I talked about this in my last blush declutter, I think, or my ranking, and I had one from Catkin that I bought off of Amazon. I call it drugstore, but I feel like this is a little bit more affordable than Iconic London or something like that. I really enjoyed the formula, but it was a little bit like almost gray toned, so I wanted to get a different one, so I got this really pinky shade, but it's like a full-on highlighter. It's intense. It's so icy pink. There's no real base to it. It's just like an entire icy cheek. So this is such a good formula. I will keep this as a highlighter because it's a beautiful, soft, smooth, icy pink, but it's not a blush, but this is a blush. You know what I'm saying? Like this is meant to be a blush. It's just not a blush for me or anyone, I think. Anyway, I wanted to update you guys on that because a couple of you actually commented, like, let me know how that is because I really like those Catkin blushes and the way they look, and I've been thinking about getting them, and the other shade that I had was almost like a little gray. So you know, these really light shades, they're basically highlighters. All right, this is a new release. This one is from Kosas. It's the Blush is Life, and I have mine in the shade Euphoria. A lot of people like this. I feel like I've been hearing a lot of people say they love this formula. Guess what? Don't love it. Not entirely convinced that I like it. So the thing is with this, it's beautiful, like slight sheen is really nice, and it's a beautiful like hard pressed formula that doesn't deposit too much pigment on the cheeks, and it makes it look very airbrushing. But there is something about the swirl that if you're picking it up on a fluffy brush, sometimes my applications have been full on patchy. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's picking up too much of the lighter shade, and it's like missing spots on my cheek because it's not picking up enough of the pink. Because it's a harder pressed formula, I feel like you really got to dig in with a pretty dense brush. Otherwise, it does look patchy because there's a lot of whiter tone in here than there is pink. Can you see how much like light tone is down here and throughout here? There's just so little of the actual color that's why sometimes I think it gets splotchy. So the brush that I'm taking to apply it is a soft pinch blush brush from Rare Beauty. I'm really stamping it onto the product and then stamping it into the cheeks. It's pretty long lasting, like I said, airbrushing and all that good stuff. It is just not good without a super dense brush, in my opinion. I think it comes out splotchy because this is a really, really, really hard pressed, like marbled product. All right, moving on to another new release. This is one of the stick blushes from Makeup by Mario. I call it a new release because I'm pretty sure this is one of the new shades in Sweet Pink. I want to say he released 3 new shades like 2, maybe 3 months ago at this point. This is such a beautiful formula. I can see why a lot of people went pretty goo goo gaga over this. That's what I'm going to call it, goo goo gaga. Because it's, again, such a blendable formula. It really can be more radiant or a little less radiant, again, depending upon the brush that you're using, like more dense or more fluffy, but also it just blends seamlessly. It's a perfect blend. That's what it is. It doesn't get patchy. It doesn't stick to one particular place. It's really about how well these formulas blend, and this blends perfectly. My only criticism with this blush is the packaging. I've had the bronzer totally malfunction on me. It feels kind of like the component is a little bit cheap. I don't feel like we needed this brush. I prefer something a little bit more fluffy, and I could have done without it. And every time you're going to pull the top off, you know, you gotta kind of hold the black part just to get this off. I mean, it's silly until you start using it and you're like, oh, come on now. Come on, what's going on? Again, such a beautiful formula. It's that like perfect radiance, like slight radiance that isn't sticky, that just blends like seamlessly into the cheeks. And that's just what makes this such a really good, very easy formula to work with. Another new release that I really like, you guys, is from Iconic London. And not a lot of people have been talking about this. Is one of the blurring blush sticks is what it's called. Yes. And this one is in the shade Daiquiri. This is a very different formula. It's a blush stick that is more like dry, and it's much more blurring. It's kind of like a powdery finish, like a silicone base. But again, I love all different finished blushes. I really don't mind if it's matte or blurring or a little bit drier. It's really just about the blendability, I think, and like how much pigment it has. And this, I think, just gives me like the perfect amount of pigment. It's kind of a blurring, soft matte formula. I just really like it. I really enjoy it. I think it was very easy to work with. I did talk about these in my Best of Beauty for 2024 so far. It was the Luminous Powder Blushes from Rare Beauty, and I picked up all 6 shades. I have since lost Joy because it came smashed and I didn't replace it. But I have to say Joy was one of my favorite shades. Now, these are a little bit different depending upon the color that you get. So the darker the color, the less shimmer that they have, or the less kind of like highlighted pigments they have. I think they become more flat looking and a little bit more mattifying in the darker shades. And I have the 2 deepest shades here. Purple is in Truth, and the kind of like terracotta shade is in Love, and they're just less shimmery. So the lighter shades tend to have more highlighting properties to them, and they're more textured on the cheeks is I think what it is. And so even though I love me a highlighting blush formula, I still don't mind a textured cheek. I think you're gonna get that with these. I think that was what a lot of people were worried about. Those who had texture on their cheeks, they were just worried that these were gonna be too texturizing, and I think they are, but I think the deeper shades don't have that same luminosity, so they're not as textured on the cheeks. I will be decluttering the 2 deeper shades, but I will be holding on to the 3 lighter shades. My favorite is Happy because it's like a cool toned baby pink, but doesn't have a huge amount of base to it. It's a lot of highlighting properties. So if you like that and you're not afraid of a little bit of texture, they're a very nice, very soft formula. Not the longest lasting on the cheeks, but that's about it in a nutshell. All right, let's move on to highlighters. I have 3 different highlighters. Again, just like the bronzers. One's from an indie brand, one's from AOA Studio, it's more affordable, and then one is a new release. So let's talk about the indie brand one. I picked up another thing from MBA Cosmetics. It was, let's see if it says on the bottom. Yes, Glow Lighter in You Glow Girl. I think this is an interesting highlighter. It's more of like a kind of like shimmery eyeshadow topper is what it is, more so than like a highlighter necessarily. And it's kind of chunky when you touch it. It's one of those that it's more like loosely pressed. So you really have to rub it into the skin, and then it becomes this really, really icy, very light catching, very wet looking formula on the cheeks. So because it's not like the softer kind of powder formula that I'm used to, I take a brush and like press it into the cheeks or rub it really hard to break up the chunkier pieces so that it can be more smooth and light reflecting. It does have like a ton of sparkles in it, but the sparkles are so fine that I think that this is the kind of highlighter that if you like a really intense, very wet looking highlight, this is good. First time I used it, didn't like it. Second time I realized I really need to press hard with that highlighting brush, and then I really enjoyed it. I actually think this is a unique product in my collection, so something I want to hold on to so that if I'm looking for something like this, I actually have it. And I like the shade too. It's like an icy without being blue. It's kind of like this really sheer, like pure white. Anyway, I like it. It's very unique. The next one I have is from AOA Studio. Is this packaging like a Dior dupe? Is that what this is? Because that's what it reminds me of, like a Dior highlighter dupe. This is called the Everglow Highlighter in Magic Hour. It has an impression of a flower, so I don't think like the inside is duping anything. I first saw this and thought, oh no, it is way too dark for me. But it's actually really nice once it gets to the cheeks over top of a pink blush. It's the one that I'm wearing right now. I think it is super smooth, super light reflecting. It doesn't have like a dark base, so I think that it works for my skin tone. It's a really creamy formula. It feels like a cream or powdery cream formula is what it feels like. Even probably something that would be really pretty on the eyes. Like I could even see this being marketed as like a creamy eyeshadow, and I would probably still buy that it was. So anyway, I didn't think I was going to enjoy this because I thought it was going to be too dark, but it is gorgeous. It is so gorgeous, and it's so worth the $1 something that I spent on it. I really enjoy the iciness and like how flat it looks on the skin. Just kind of like one with the blush that it looks. Really enjoy this and highly recommend. I also highly recommend the new release from Ilia, the Light Shift Cream Highlighter in Glint. This is where the more natural product comes in from Ilia. Then when I was talking about the bronzer, I didn't think it was as natural. This highlighter is so much more natural in the skin. It really does just like melt in with the skin. It's more emollient than the bronzer, which I told you was almost like this kind of drier cream to powder formula. This is a little bit more emollient. It doesn't dry completely down, but it's not sticky. It's just very natural, very natural. It also has a place in my collection because I don't have very many natural highlighters and none that are a cream formula. I only actually have one that's a cream and not a liquid, and it's from, I think, Winky Lux. And it's really nice. It's just like a stickier, more emollient formula. Again, this is on the drier side and super natural, so it's very easy formula to work with. Okay guys, let's move on to lip products. It is my final category, and I have quite a few that I tested. And I feel like quite a few of them are new releases too. And earlier I said that one new release flew under the radar. I think that it was these, because literally no one is talking about these. These were the new lip oils from Wet n Wild. They came out with 10 different shades and I bought all 10. And I think these were like $1.99. So it literally cost me 20 bucks for all of these, where some lip oils are even more than that for just one. The thing is, these aren't all consistently good. There's actually 4 of them that are like more pigmented. They have more of a base to them, or at least they appear to. And then there's 2 that are shimmery. And then there are 4 that are clear, that are just like a pink, a red, a clear, and an orange that are all clear glosses. The pigmented ones and the clear kind of sheer ones, they all end up kind of looking similar except the brightest shades. So for example, the one that I'm putting on for you guys in the more pigmented formula or pigmented colors is in Heart Rate. And it's so beautiful. The more pigmented ones, they're a lot less sticky. They're coming for high end, I'm telling you guys. This one in Heart Rate, it just has this like beautiful bright pink shade, but it's still kind of sheer looking. Like it's not intensely opaque, if that makes sense, but it's also a very creamy high shine formula that isn't sticky. Whereas the shimmery ones, they're a little bit of a stickier formula for whatever reason. Again, they don't have a lot of pigment unless they're in the bright colors. The other one is in Dress Code, that is a bright pink that's also like super pigmented. The sheer ones, all pretty sheer. Even the red ones, super duper sheer. And so I don't think I needed all 10 is kind of my point. I feel like the ones that are a little bit shimmery, which are Cocoa Rose and Dress Code, I could have done with one, just the pinky one in Dress Code. Again, the ones that are more pigmented, I could have done one in Heart Rate, because that's the only one that really shows up any color on my lips. And then probably from the sheer ones, again, I would have picked one of the red or pink shades and moved on with like the clear or the orange. I don't think they show up super well, or maybe just the clear, but I kind of like these deeper ones. They have just like a hint of color. So anyway, I think that skip the shimmery ones if you don't want something that's like a little bit thicker in texture. I think they're all great in high shine with a big doe foot applicator. Like I would have been okay with these 3 shades right here. One a little bit nudie and 2 that are brighter pink. Anyway, I just don't think the formula across the board is consistent. Again, I think it's 4, 2, and 4. That's how I feel that they kind of appear and how they're a little bit different. So I think for $1.99 though, you guys should check these out. My top recommendation is Heart Rate and Dress Code. I'm going with that, you guys. Again, I still think that these are kind of coming for high end. For $1.99, I think that these are even better than the e.l.f. because the e.l.f., I mean, it's kind of thick. It's a little bit stickier than these in terms of texture. I do think the e.l.f. is pretty high shine, but it also has like this really minty kind of taste to it, where these are like more vanilla, very, very mildly vanilla. So I definitely think that these are good. If I compare it to like a clearance lip oil, you guys, I can almost not tell the difference, okay? Like if you blindfolded me, I don't know that I would be able to tell the difference. Really, truly. So keeping on with where I think drugstore in this category with lips here is where they're really coming for high end. It's very easy to spend a lot of money on lip products because now they're like between $20 and $30 for a high end, not even a luxury lip product. And it can get out of hand. Like you buy 3 shades and all of a sudden you've spent $75 plus taxes. So I really am looking at a lot of more affordable things and going, oh my gosh, this is so comparable to like what I would spend over here where this product cost me 30 bucks. So here in this category, I really enjoyed a lot of the affordable lip products. And I really think they did a good job in formulating a lot of these to the point of me saying like, I really think they're coming for high end and luxury products at this point. So first up, literally for like $1, maybe between $1 and $2 was from AOA Studio. And I can't remember what this is called. Of course, it will be listed in the description box, but this is like a soft matte formula. This one is in the shade Fringe. I did say that it kind of like smelled expired in my video testing this, but I don't think that's true anymore. It's actually like dissipated. Whatever that smell was is definitely gone. Again, this is a soft matte formula that reminds me a lot of like a Pat McGrath trans matte lipstick or a MAC formula. Like it's got intense pigmentation, pretty opaque, can be kind of sheared out, very long lasting, super smooth and not drying on the lips, between $1 and $2 right here. I would get a ton of different shades in this formula because I think it is just so good. I was so surprised at how long it lasted without drying out my lips. I really think that it smoothed out the formula. It was like a soft powder finish. Tremendous, tremendous lip product. Another one that I really enjoyed was the Sun Boss Gloss from e.l.f. with the SPF 20. I think that like glosses with SPF now are becoming definitely more trendy. I think e.l.f. does a sticky gloss, I'm not gonna lie. Like even the lip oils I think are a little bit sticky. They're thick and they last a little bit longer, but they're definitely not like not sticky. I think this product is pretty sticky, but it's also like decently opaque. It has some good base pigment here. It has good longevity, and I like that it has an SPF of 25. And I'm all good with paying this price over something else. Who else? I think Tatcha came out with an SPF balm or a gloss, and I would prefer to spend e.l.f. money for a product like that that I think performs perfectly fine. All right, this is a formula that I believe I've tested before, but I wanted to get another shade. This is from Moira Beauty. This is in Rosy Vibes. It's one of the signature lipsticks. This reminds me a lot of like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like a YSL or like a Gucci lip balm, but maybe a little bit more pigmented. It's so creamy. It has good longevity. I mean, it doesn't have to do more than that. Creamy and slightly pigmented. The only thing I don't love is that like this packaging feels a little bit loose, okay? That's it. If I was nitpicking down to a T or a science or whatever, then I would say that that needed to be a little bit more sturdy. I have another one that's sturdier. Anyway, this is just super creamy and nice and pigmented. And again, the longevity is really good. It's not a sticky gloss, but what do you need? When it comes to a lip product, you know, I personally feel like there are so many good drugstore formulas out there. There are certain things I'm willing to pay luxury price for, like a base product or even a mascara. Okay, I'm willing to go there if I prefer a more expensive formula. But lip products, it's just not the category for me to spend a shit ton of money and feel good about it over spending what I think lip products do for me in drugstore pricing. Okay, that's how I feel. But I do have some non-drugstore that I do like, so you know, we'll just go ahead and keep on going with the contradictions here. I picked up one from Makeup by Mario. I don't think they have a drugstore equivalent to this. I really like this formula. I've talked about these a lot. These are the Moisture Glow Pumping Lip Serums. This one is in Pomegranate Glow. So this one was a new shade release. I want to say there was 3 again. And this one was the deepest one. I went to the end of the range here on the 3 additional shades. Like this was the deepest one. I love this formula because I feel like it's just, it's so thick and it's so smoothing. I don't think it lasts the longest, but I love the way that it feels. It's such a high shine. I like the component, and I think this is now my new favorite shade. It just has more pigment here, and it's more pink. It's prettier than some of the other ones that I have. So highly enjoy that particular shade. So if you liked that formula and you wanted something a little bit more pink, I think he finally gave it to us. All right, speaking of where drugstore just kicks ass sometimes, Essence, the Extreme Shine Volume Lip Gloss. This one is just in crystal clear. This is a very, very smooth formula. It has a little bit of stickiness to it, so it does make it last a little bit longer on the lips. It's not like a lip oil. This is such a good gloss. It's a clear gloss. You know, you could spend so much on clear glosses where I don't think you need to. Like Essence just brings it. It smells good, like a little bit of vanilla. Nice high shine lip gloss that is affordable. Okay, let's keep going. This one between $1 and $2. When I did that video, you guys said that this is your holy grail, your new holy grail lip oil. This is the I Heart Dew lip oil from AOA Studio in Bloom. I love these. These are so good. Again, if you held a blindfold over my face and put on a Clarins or a Dior or something super expensive, and then you put this on, I don't know that I would be able to tell the difference. This is even more smooth and less sticky than the Clarins. The Clarins does have a little bit of stick to it, and it's in my everyday makeup drawer, so I just tested it recently, and I know that the Clarins is more sticky than this. It has like just the right amount of pigment here, and it's smooth and it's high shine, and it's like less than $2. Need I say more? So if you're gonna go and like do a haul of AOA Studio, definitely check out the lip oils. All right, I do have one indie brand here. It's from Black Moon Cosmetics. I had this to test for so long. This is one of their metallic lips in DeVille, I think is what it's called. It took me a long time to test this, you guys. It just sat up there. I was like, oh my gosh, when am I gonna be able to test a red metallic lip? I think it's cool to have a red metallic lip in your collection, like if you're somebody who likes to like dress it up occasionally. So that's why I got it. But I think this is a really, really good formula. And I hated the eyeshadow palette from Black Moon Cosmetics, but it's so opaque and it like locks down. It's like, it's a little bit on the drier side, but it's not fully dry. It's not like a matte lip, and it's not overly metallic. I do think that it sinks into my lines as it continues to dry down, but I wore this, I want to say, with the Essence gloss the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, it was freaking gorgeous. Because this is pretty like a lockdown kind of formula, like pairing it with a lip gloss that maybe is a little bit longer lasting but a little bit thicker, I looked like the juiciest, reddest apple lips ever. It was so freaking pretty, and besides, the shade in DeVille is like absolutely gorgeous blue red. Ooh, look at that. It's like staining. I'm having a hard time even getting it off my hand. So it really does, like, it's a really nice lockdown lip. So even if you put a gloss on top of it, it doesn't like re-emulsify and then slip off. All right, the next one I don't think is a new release. I don't think. I think I had my eye on it when it came out, but I didn't end up getting it. It's from Tower 28. It's the Shine On Lip Jelly in Magic. So I don't know if Magic was in a shade extension, but if you guys have ever heard me talk about shimmery lip glosses, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. I have my favorites. I have some that I hate, but I knew that I liked the Shine On Lip Jelly formula from Tower 28, so I wanted to test this one. It's gold though. It's like clear and gold. So you have to like that. It's maybe like a little bit frosty, but I love the formula, and I think Tower 28, as far as like lip products go, I mean, they're a little bit more affordable. So if you were gonna go kind of high end, Tower 28 Shine On Lip Jelly, really good. All right, this was a limited edition, but a newer release. I think it came out like a month, maybe 2 months ago at this point. It was the limited edition lip oil in Black Honey from Clinique. I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I really didn't like it. So I know the shade was like super popular, but I hated this doe foot applicator. It's like the tiniest thing ever. And it just went on streaky onto my lips. Like, I don't think the formula was like terrible, but I don't know. I was expecting more. And the fact that it was like a little bit streaky on my lips and I kept having to like reapply it to get it to not be streaky, it literally just leaked all over the desk. Oh my gosh. That's another thing, is that this is just like, look how liquidy it is in there. And when I think of a lip oil, you guys, I really do think of like, here's one from AOA Studio, okay? When you tip it over, it shouldn't come like pouring out. It's starting to rain. Where this one is just so liquidy, I mean, it really just wants to pour straight out of here. And I think that's why it got a little bit streaky. It just wasn't enough of a thickening formula, enough thickness. See how it's starting to look? It's like starting to separate on my hand right now. That's kind of how it looks on the lips. So yeah, sorry, I didn't really enjoy it. I know some of you like really love the Black Honey shade, but what I experienced on the back of my hand was pretty much what I experienced on my lips, like every single time I used it. Could I get it to work? Yes. Was it my favorite? No. I think it's too thin of a formula and it likes to separate on itself. All right, the one that I'm wearing right now that I really did enjoy, but still think that you can get like comparable formulas elsewhere. Like even the one from Moira Beauty is super similar. And I think this is $25 from Fenty Beauty. This is one of her new High Shine Gloss Stick in Is It Fussy is the shade. It smells really tropical and delicious, and it's like My Lips But Better shade, and it has decent longevity. It's not the most smoothing formula, but it's a beautiful shade. Again, just kind of like everyday wearable. But if I'm comparing like price point, like let me just show you a side by side. Like these could be the same thing and one is half the price of the other. So there you go. This is Fenty and this is Moira. Fenty is a little bit higher shine because it calls itself a high shine, but you know, could you tell? If I changed lip products, do you really think you'd be able to see the difference between the two? That's just kind of where I'm at in my mind at the current moment with like spending $25 for one lip product. All right, the very final product in today's video, you guys, are some that I absolutely love. These are from AOA Studio. That rain is just coming down out there. These are called the Artista Lip Liner Pens. They're so cool. I'm wearing one right now. These are liquid matte lip liners is what they are. And they come on like a ballpoint pen. So they make it very easy to get super precise to apply your lip liner. And they're super opaque and they dry almost immediately upon contact. They're fabulous. They are so good. I didn't even know I would love something like this so much. So imagine like a liquid lip, you know, like how that looks in like this ballpoint pen style. So I started with one shade. And I ended up going back for 4 more because I loved the formula so much. That tells you something, okay? But these are genuinely $1 and they come with a ball. So they do shake, you know, so they're not gonna like dry the tip out. You're gonna be able to get more product out of it. And I picked up all these different shades because I thought they had a really good range. Like browns and mauves and pinks and kind of plum colors and one red color. And I think they even had more shades that I could choose from. So if you like a long-lasting creamy lip liner, like these are really cool. But I will say the one thing you have to look out for is that these are super long-lasting, you guys, super. So I have paired them with lip products that haven't lasted as long, and then just the lip liner was left. So you do have to be careful of that. That was the end of part 2 of all products that I tested for July and August. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. My husband is downstairs on a meeting, so I'm pretty sure the camera's picking up the background noise. So it's a good thing I'm calling it quits and I am all done. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys are not currently subscribed, I'd love to see you subscribe. I'm out of here for today, you guys, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Bye.